On Monday the 29th of July 2024, one of the most horrific crimes in recent history was committed in the UK. Axel Rudakubana had gone into a kids' dance studio in Southport where he committed a mass stabbing of teachers and children that weren't even 10 years old. In fact, the oldest of the victims, Alice, was only 9 years old and tragically died, along with Elise, aged 7, and Bibi, aged only 6 years old. Axel was first caught on CCTV at 11 AM, calling a cab from Banks, Southport, where he lives. He was then picked up at 11:30 and sat there in silence for his 4.5-mile journey to Hart Street. Once they arrived, Axel got out the cab without paying the fare. The driver followed him down 36A to the motor repair store. The owner of this store confirmed in an interview that he confronted Axel for not paying his fare. Axel aggressively responded with, "What are you gonna do about it?" before making his way to the dance studio at 34A Hart Street, where the kids were having their Taylor Swift concert. Their dance teacher Leanne Lucas confirmed that she saw Rudakubana while opening a window, but didn't think anything of it. CCTV then shows him enter the property, where he went on to murder the 3 young girls. 8 other children sustained injuries during the attack. All since have been discharged from hospital and are recovering at home. 2 adults were also injured, one of them being the dance teacher Leanne. She suffered serious stab wounds while protecting the children. She had since been discharged from the hospital and has spoken publicly about the incident, stating that she felt the knife plunge into her back as she was screaming "run away" to the kids. The attack made her lose faith in the world, and she can't live as a 36-year-old woman knowing that she survived when children died. Despite not being statistically the deadliest, this is the most high-profile case in recent UK history, leading to such huge outcry amongst British citizens for a number of reasons. The first being the sheer brutality of the attack against young children. The fact that kids were at a Taylor Swift dance class enjoying themselves before facing these atrocious acts brought so much more attention and hatred from the public. The second reason being media controversy, as when the attack first hit the news, the media kept the perpetrator anonymous, only describing him as a 17-year-old male at the time. This lack of information enraged the public and led to speculation that the media was deliberately withholding details, possibly to protect an illegal immigrant. In the period leading up to the stabbings in July 2024, the UK experienced a heightened and often heated discussion regarding illegal immigration and its perceived link to crime, with polls showing an amid increase in support for Reform UK. Media law expert Ursula Smart explained that since the murderer was below 18 years old, he may lawfully remain anonymous, stating that these laws aim to protect young offenders and their families. The absence of official information was quickly filled by misinformation.
Anyone claiming they know the identity or the name of the attacker, it's just fake news. The police will not release the details of the attacker simply because he's under 18. And I just want everyone to know that, because there's a lot of these screenshots going about with all these different names, and there's no way anyone can be sure about the identity of the attacker, because the person that they've arrested is under 18. They will not divulge his details.
False claims emerged suggesting that the attacker was a Muslim asylum seeker. These rumours were propagated by far-right groups and individuals, including Andrew Tate and Tommy Robinson, adding fuel to the fire.
So an undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Now that video has been viewed 15.1 million times. But the bottom line, Andrew, is that almost everything you said in that video was completely untrue. And yet it was online, spread wide and far, and made people believe what you were saying. So my question for you off the top here is, why did you race to spread such woeful disinformation?
This led to protesters vandalising a Stockport mosque, damaging it by hurling bricks and other objects in large numbers.
Inside, terrified worshippers were trapped.
Be careful, yeah.
ITV News was invited inside by the chairman as they assessed the damage.
The whole building was shaking actually. It was a missile that they kept throwing at the, big bricks, and we can feel the heat and the smoke coming in through the window. Nobody here can't understand why we came under this awful attack. We don't understand why, but we would like just to say that we have absolutely nothing to do with this. We was just as devastated as anybody else in the community.
The police came to try and maintain order, but it only worsened the situation. It ultimately resulted in injuries to over 50 officers and a police car set on fire. This led to a nationwide spread of riots, and later the claims made that the murderer was a Muslim asylum seeker were retracted, but the damage was already done. However, on the 1st of August 2024, Judge Andrew Menery of Liverpool Crown Court decided to remove these restrictions. The decision was influenced by the spread of misinformation and civil unrest following the attack, aiming to provide clarity and preventing further disorder.
Yes, the 17-year-old male has been named as Axel Rudakubana.
Reporting restrictions have been lifted on the case, and we will have more for you shortly.
With the release of his identity, there were more details being released about Axel Rudakubana, like reports of his sickening laptop activity, where they found content of beheadings and cartoon depictions of violence, along with images relating to wars and international conflicts in Ukraine, Gaza and Korea. This gave people an insight into what kind of disturbed mind could kill children. Following this came reports of his twisted school life, where he was expelled for bringing a knife onto the school premises. On his return to the school in 2019, he was armed with a hockey stick with names written on it. He then assaulted a pupil, breaking his arm, and when the police arrived, they found a knife in his backpack. He was subsequently arrested and pleaded guilty to assault occasioning actual bodily harm, possession of an offensive weapon, and possession of a bladed article. A video was then released of his pupils restraining him after what's alleged to be the attack. He'd also been found researching school shootings and the London Bridge terror attacks in IT class. People quickly realised this kid was a ticking time bomb. Between 2019 and 2021, Rudakubana was referred 3 times to Prevent, the UK's counter-terrorism programme, because of these issues. They did not escalate him to the Channel programme, which is designed for high-risk cases, a mistake that could have saved 3 young lives. Keir Starmer labelled the protesters as hateful far-right thugs.
Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law.
Starmer was accused of using the riots to cover up him and his government's incompetence that could have prevented the tragedy. And between the 10th and 12th of August, Axel appeared in court for the initial hearings related to the crime. It was reported that during these hearings, when the prosecutor mentioned that the youngest victim was just 6 years old, Axel responded by laughing. This behaviour shocked many and further highlighted how disturbed of an individual this was. As the case progressed, more details emerged of Axel's disturbing behaviour, discovering that he had an Al-Qaeda terrorist training manual in his possession for 3 years before the attack, and a manual on how to carry out knife attacks with lethal force. This was made worse with the findings of machetes under his bed and poison in his room, which is even more scary when you find out he had already confessed to wanting to poison people to a policeman during his high school case. A prosecutor from his case then suggested that he tried committing this violent act a week sooner when he booked a cab under a fake name, got in with a green hoodie and surgical mask with a rucksack on him. His father spotted him on that occasion, ran out and pleaded with the driver not to go. They had an argument and eventually Axel stepped out the car. It was unlikely this was a coincidence, as school was scheduled to end at 12:30 that day for the summer holidays. This was clearly a huge warning sign, and we're all asking, how did they miss this? The father clearly knew and didn't do anything to stop it. In the Liverpool Crown courtroom on his proper trial in December 2024, Axel didn't say a word, which meant that he pleaded not guilty. Due to this, they scheduled a 4-week trial that would take place on January the 20th, 2025. And unexpectedly, Axel pleaded guilty to all 16 charges on the first day of his trial. He got sentenced with a minimum of 54 years in prison, a sentence which most feel still isn't enough for what he did. When looking at footage of him on his way to committing this crime, he was wearing the same green hoodie and a surgical mask. We also came to find out he was googling the Sydney church attack, which was also committed with a knife. It was clearly all preempted, which is extremely chilling for anybody that's an actual human being with a heart. He then goes off and commits one of the most horrifically chilling crimes we have ever seen.